So with the Autofusion series, we have been making nothing but really good progress towards getting this thing done. At the end of the last video, I got the seat thrown in there. I've kind of realized that I'm going to have to cut out more of the floor in order to get the seat to mount in, because keep in mind, the floor of this vehicle is the floor from the Lincoln Town Car, and I want the bench seat from the F350 to fit in there. So I'm going to have to figure out how exactly I'm going to make that happen. And by the end of this video, hopefully we have a really nice, new, fresh looking floor and the seat mounted in for the final time. Let's keep it rolling, man. No reason to slow down now.
And now, you're watching The Summertime Heat Got You So Hot You Need a Specialized Fan Just for Your Narge channel of YouTube. Welcome to BodeVision.
Hey, so what is up, and welcome, and thank you so much for joining me yet again on another video. So the first thing that I want to do, just looking inside of the slam box, the floor, looking at the Lincoln Town Car floor, it kind of sags from where the seats went in that car, and those were front bucket seats. I just want to cut out everything that I don't believe I'm going to be using, and keep in mind, this might just be an initial cut, because as I get into it and as I start to lay out the framework for what is going to be my new floor, I might want to cut a little bit more. But I'm just going to leave a section of the transmission tunnel, because I know that tunnel clears the drive shaft. So the little section that I leave in the middle, I might end up cutting that off all the way. But for right now, I want to leave that in there so that way I can check for clearance at the bottom of the seat. We have two problems. We have a drive shaft here, we have the bottom of the seat here, and the floor needs to live somewhere in between it at the transmission drive shaft tunnel. Let's get cutting. So this right here, this is the bottom of the bench seat, and this is what I want to focus on. So this right here is just about 3 inches wide. So I'm going to get some steel 1x3 and run it this length. And what I like to do for seats is I want them to locate themselves, and I don't want to have to get underneath the car and through bolt it and deal with all that. So I like to put a stud coming up from the floor, then put the seat on, so that way again the seat can be located, and then you can just put on a nut by hand and finish it off with a wrench. And I have plenty of room in here, plenty of room in there. So the first thing that I want to do is I have this distance from bolt hole to bolt hole being exactly 16 inches. So with the 1x3, I want to cut some holes in it, put some bolts down there, weld them out so that way we have studs sticking out at this correct length. Then I'm going to put those on the seat, put the seat in the car, tack in the 1x3, and then remove the seat. That way everything's exactly where it needs to be, and that's how I'm going to make this happen. So now those 1x3s are in there and they're looking good. Now I want to start laying some framework for my new floor sheet metal to eventually lay on. So I have just some angle iron that I like to use, and I like to use angle iron because the angle helps me out. Comes down and over and then up for the actual transmission tunnel. I'll show you what I'm doing as I'm doing it. So let's start to establish a foundation for our sheet metal by laying out some framework. Alright, so we got my framework laid out. Now these are symmetrical from the driver's side to the passenger side, and as you can see, that piece of sheet metal right there has a hole right there as well as a hole right there, which is the same as this piece of sheet metal with that hole and that hole, so that way those seat rail studs can come through. Now one thing that I wanted to mention before I go ahead and I finish out my drive shaft tunnel, the truck is aired out right now, and it's aired out in the back on its bump stop, so it'll never be lower, meaning components will never be higher no matter what. Since it's on the bump stops, the drive shaft cannot come up any higher, so that's just a good point of reference. So I want to go ahead and get the tunnel welded in, and here in a minute I'm going to get some help to do some bead rolls on the big flat panels. All right, so we got our panels right here. I got the one for this side on this side, and dude, how good did these turn out? I mean, these look phenomenal for just being a piece of sheet metal to now being almost an art piece that's going to be completely covered by a seat and carpet or vinyl or whatever it's going to be covered by, it doesn't matter. So all of these holes around the entire perimeter, as well as up through the center is where that seat bracket is. So all of these holes are going to be, you guessed it, rosette welded in. It's kind of like a spot weld for an OEM car, and I like this process because it's good and it doesn't take that long at all. And then underneath we're going to have to do some cutting, trimming, prepping, epoxy primer. That's DTM epoxy primer. Then on the bottom side I like to do some undercoating, and then the top side I might just leave it primer or maybe paint it white to match the rest, but either way it's all going to be covered. So I want to get this wiped down one more time. I have this one right there, and then this is for the other side. I got to keep track of them. So this is passenger side, this is driver side. So let's go ahead and get these welded in. I cleaned the metal already. I'm going to wipe this down one more time just because it's a little bit dirty, and let's get it welded in, man. This is good stuff. Alright, so I'm happy with these two panels. The next thing that I want to focus on is we have a few little gaps that I need to fill in, so I'm just going to work on cutting out some metal, welding that in, getting all those gaps done, and getting this floor finalized. Alright, so at this point we have the majority of the floors pretty much done. I still have a few more small pieces that I have to do around the transmission tunnel and whatnot, but that I'll do those eventually. Then the next step is going to be direct to metal epoxy primer, then we got seam seal, then sound deadening is going to go on top of it, and then some type of finished floor is going to go on top, just like I mentioned earlier, whether it's carpet or vinyl, like that work truck vinyl. Either way, man, it looks really good. It's starting to rain, so I'm not going to get into it too crazy much right now. What we have to look forward to coming up is we have to get the boxes fit on the rear. Now that to me is going to be the cherry on top of this entire build. You see slam trucks, but you don't usually see slam trucks with utility boxes. So it's definitely been done before. It's something that I am a huge fan of, and it is something that will be coming up very soon. So thank you guys so much for watching. Like this video, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think about all the progress thus far, and I will see you on the next one. I'm out. See ya.